Hi, my name is Drew Forrester, and today I want to teach you a little bit about surfing. What types of waves there are, what type of board to use, some of the muscle exercises so that before you go you'll be able to have the muscle capacity to be able to handle the waves, and maybe some videos to stoke you on the sport altogether. Now, first thing you need to know, most people look at waves and oftentimes think they're all the same. But there are three main specific type of waves that are created by three different ocean floors. The first is a beach break. You go to the beach, you lay in the sand, you don't really think that much of it. But that sand at the bottom of the ocean actually creates the waves that you're looking at that day. The wave is created as it hits the sandbar, and then that force is pushed up forward to create this awesome wave. Most beach breaks have really strong power behind them and do what's actually called, they wall up really fast. So most waves slowly curve and crash down like you see in Hawaii. Beach breaks have a tendency to just and then crash down. So that when it pops up and it's really steep down that interface right here, that is called walling up. And that is usually common on every single beach break that you'll ever surf. The second type is a point break. Point meaning rock, and it's a rock bottom of the ocean floor. So it's way more concrete than your sand break that can move based on the type of swell. A rock break, as you can see here, rather than hitting the ocean and coming up like the sand, it hits a rock and actually creates a different type of break on that wave. And you can actually, on most point breaks, you can look and see where the wave hits the rock and actually changes its formation based on the ocean's floor. The third one is a reef break. And those are mostly known around coastal areas, especially Hawaii. Hawaii's pipeline, for instance, is a huge reef break, one of the best in the world. When that reef break is created, it sucks the water. When the wave's created, it sucks the water from the reef and creates this mondo wave that's very much hollow and fast and heavy. Another scary thing about reef breaks, definitely not for beginners, is that when that water is being ripped from the reef, oftentimes that reef can be exposed. And if you fall on that wave, almost 98% of the time you will land on that reef. And reef is something that I desire no one ever to land on in their life. If I were to rank these in beginner, intermediate, and advanced, it would definitely be in the same. Beach break, very, very beginner. Even though it walls up like we said before, you can usually counteract that with a couple quick tips that your buddy will tell you on your way out. One of those ways is you sit further up on the wave so that when you're coming and you start paddling and it starts to form, you're already up coming down the face of the wave so that it doesn't just crumble right on top of you. Intermediate would be definitely a point break. Way easier to read, but you can definitely have some issues with rocks as well. And then obviously reef break would be your advanced. Now the next thing you might be asking yourself is, well, what do these different ones look like? This is actually a beach I've actually had the opportunity to surf. This is called Jaco Beach in Jaco, Costa Rica. And it's one of the heaviest waves I've ever surfed in my life. But what makes it really awesome is it's got this really nice, if you look at this like an A, it's got this really nice A-frame here. And what that does is it slowly peels like an orange. Have you ever seen anybody peel an orange and keep the peel all together without breaking it? That's what they call peeling. And it's really nice, and it's a slower, more progressing break because of that actual ocean floor. The next one is an example of a point break. This is close to my hometown, San Clemente, California. This is Trestles, also another one of the World Tour surf spots in the world. This is also really cool. Point break is often, you can see again, you still have that same peel, and it's slowly coming. What's really nice about a point break is you can spot it from a mile away if it's breaking out, and you can have plenty of time to catch it and bring it in, and you'll know where to position yourself on the wave. For instance, if I was to position myself on this wave, knowing that this wave is breaking left and right, which side looks better? The right, because it's higher, allowing more time to be in that pocket and more of the face of the wave to go ahead and surf on. So I would most likely position myself over here, knowing that I've seen how this works and that it's a point break and that ocean floor won't change if the swell happens to change while I'm out there. Third is a reef break. I've only surfed a reef break twice in my life, but I love it. Scary as all get out, mainly because as you can see the floor as crystal clear, and that just freaked me out. I had this whole depth perception issue, but great weather, great warmth in the water, and oftentimes this reef acts just like a point break because it's concrete, just like the bottom of a point break rock floor is. Now, the next thing you might ask yourself, okay, well good, I know about breaks now. Now, what board do I use and for what break? Majority of the time, if it's really, really big, we're talking 6 feet, which is called overhead, or if it's higher, if it's like 12 feet, that's called, well not 12 feet, yeah, like 10 to 12, that's called double overhead. If it's that big, you usually want to push yourself to a short board. Reason being, see this, I wish you could see this better, but here it's called a V in the nose, and you can see it there. Actually, on that V, if you're looking at it, it actually goes up. The nose goes like this. And what that does is when the wave is breaking, your board is like this, so it doesn't dip into the wave and then force you to launch off your board. When that happens, when you dip into the wave and your nose dips in, that's called purling. And because of this design here, this V design and the concave of the board, you'll never ever purl in a shortboard. Downfall, the next one is a fun board. A fun board is a mix between the shortboard and the longboard. If you look at it, you can very much see the characteristics. You see the rounded nose, kind of, but it still comes to a point. So it's allowing you to not purl nearly as much as you would with a longboard. The nice thing about this is you can also see how it tapers off right here at the end, and it's very tapered here as well. This is more rounded. This allows for more stability as well. Third is this longboard, which is way more stable and definitely allows for more movement. And we'll talk about these pros and cons of these different boards right now. So a short board, like I said before, because of that V and the concave of the board, rocker of the board, super fast off the wave. You step up on that board and you're at the right spot of the wave when it's just barely starting to curve, you're going to be shot out like a slingshot. It's super light, so it makes it kind of hard to paddle, but it's highly responsive. When you get on that board, if you shift your weight, if you even back up on your toes or on your heels, that board's going to just react instantly. A lot like a snowboard would if you've ever been snowboarding before. Or if you've been on a skateboard, you've been going down downhilling, down a steep hill, exact same thing. The nice advantage, you can totally catch sweet air with this if you plan it right. Some of the cons, hard to paddle. You have to sit really low on the wave. And what I mean by that is when you're on a shortboard and a wave is starting to curl, you have to be literally right there, right when it's starting to form, and then paddle and then get on your feet and turn. And for a majority of beginners, really hard to do, and it takes a lot of frustrating trips to the beach. And oftentimes really swirly. When you stand up on that board, because it's so responsive and light, it's going to just move back and forth, and you'll definitely feel it in your legs, and it's not nearly as stable. The next one, like I said, is that crossbead. It's a fun board. Way more stable because of the thicker rails, and the nose helps you not to purl. It's got The response of a shortboard, but not nearly as much as anybody would really want. If they wanted a shortboard feel, you can get the kind of feel, but not 100%. Like lean back and just rip. It's definitely a longer turn. And then you have to sit further back on the wave, which is really good because, like I said before, you're sitting right here on a shortboard. If the wave is like starting here, you could sit here and start paddling. And as the wave comes, right when it crests, you're going to already be in the pocket. Downfall, if you've ever longboard, you can't walk up the nose and do any nose rides. You can't get air because it's too big. And that speed and agility is just not there. A longboard, now I'm a logger, so I'm going to have way more, love for this than any of the other two. But this allows you to catch a wave way early on before anyone else. The wave could just barely be a ripple, and you can sit there, and if you time it right, once you see that ripple, turn your board around, start paddling, and I guarantee you'll catch it. Very stable. Often people talk about longboards as surfing on a coffee table because it's that stable. And they're really easy to paddle. The shortboards, you're going to have to paddle a lot in order to get enough momentum to catch that wave. Fun board, not nearly as much, but you're still going to have to paddle. Longboard, you have to paddle, but not nearly as much as the other two. Some of the cons, not nearly as much speed, mainly because of its stability and its length. Sometimes these can be very difficult to turn because you have to really put your back into it, so you have to work on your balance on that as well. And then they're really heavy in the water, so when a giant wave comes, you're going to have to do what's called turtling. So if you're the wave, I'm going to take my board, and as it's about to crash, I'm going to go ahead and turn on my back, hold on to my board, and as it crashes over, and then come back over, get back on my board, and start paddling back to the wave. That's definitely a learning curve, but for all beginners, I would say this would be your start. You always want to go, if I'm 6 foot, I'd do a 9-foot board. If you're taller, if you're in between 6 and 7, then you're going to want to go up to a 10-foot board. If you're between 200 and 250, you're going to want to go to a 10.5 board. If you're mine, where you're 195 to 215, 9, anywhere between there, 9 to 10 is fine. Some exercises to help you so when you get out on the water, you're not a total wimp. You want to focus on your traps. You also want to focus on your delts and on your lats. These will definitely help you because these are the muscles that get worked the most when you're surfing. The other thing is your core muscles, because everything we do in surfing, it's a really good workout if you think about it. All the turning you do, paddling you do, standing up, sitting down, definitely work your core. Another awesome thing that they've recently come out with within the last couple of years is called an Indo board. It's this piece of it's a pipe of PVC, and then it's a board that you rock back and forth, and you can walk on it and walk back. Check out the link, it's pretty cool. I also included some other videos just to get you pumped on the sport. Again, important aspects to know: what type of break you're going to go surf that day. That'll depend on what type of board you're going to take. Knowing the board for the break and knowing what the board does is essential to any day of surfing. That's why most times when you go out to the surf, you'll see guys have 2 boards in the back of their truck or on their car. Usually a short board and a fun board. Now, in the world of surfing, technology has come a long way, and there's more than just those 3. There's a fish, there's an egg, there's twinsers, there's quads, there's even longboards with quads or with quad fins, whole sorts of new different types of boards than just those 3. So you're not limited. But again, I hope that I've given you everything you need to know to feel confident to go out and paddle out and be stoked on life. So here's to you, aloha, and I hope you've enjoyed this totally awesome presentation on surfing. Try it out. Being one with nature is the greatest thing that I've ever done in my life. outside of getting married and those other joys of my life. Thank you for this time, and I hope you enjoyed it.